Mortal Kombat has been around for a super long time, over 30 years in fact. There are 13 main games and 16 titles that sit under the spin-off, collection or standalone category. It's always risky branching away from a main series, but sometimes, when it's done right, we can be left with a little gem. Released in 2005 on Xbox and PS2, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks is the third spin-off and is an action-adventure beat-em-up developed and published by Midway. It was shelved for years because of the terrible reviews of the former spin-offs, Mythologies, Sub-Zero and Special Forces. Shaolin Monks, however, was positively reviewed, earning a 77 on PS2 and a 78 on Xbox. The incorporation of secrets and level exploration was a huge plus for some players, but the inability to enjoy the game fully without playing co-op was a letdown to others. For more level exploration without too many letdowns, don't forget to like and subscribe for more OK Gaming. This game revolves around Liu Kang and Kung Lao, with each having different fighting styles, animations and fatalities. The story is based during Mortal Kombat 2 and starts where Mortal Kombat 1 ended. Liu Kang is fighting Shang Tsung, then Goro intervenes. Allowing Shang Tsung to create a portal for him and his allies to escape. Raiden appears and manages to evacuate the remaining fighters, except Kung Lao and Liu Kang, who need to fight their way to another portal. Liu Kang feels like the faster character, and has a powerful uppercut and fireball abilities, while Kung Lao feels slower with heavy attack-centric moves, and has teleport and hat-focused abilities. The game incorporates fatalities in quite a clever way by filling a gauge during combat. Once full, we enter a button combo and are rewarded with a gory end to an enemy. The first combo is given to us, but after that you can either guess and hope you get it right, or as far as I can tell, use fatality button combos from the main games. The levels are sectioned off, with puzzles or enemies to defeat before you can move on. The combat encourages players to make up combos rather than button mash, and we get bonus points for consecutive hits. These hits go towards experience points, which we can spend unlocking new moves, abilities, and combos. Some abilities and upgrades can be found as coins in the level. Some are hidden, and others are in plain view, as they're needed to progress.
You now have the ability to perform a long jump.
It felt a little weird having platforming in a Mortal Kombat game, but there wasn't too much that it felt like it overtook the other mechanics. I found that even though the levels were small and pretty linear, I was getting lost because of how subtle the environmental hints were. For example, we get shown in a cutscene how these catapults fling bodies once loaded, then just leave you to figure out that certain catapults will open new areas. Loading these was a struggle in itself, trying to aim enemies or position a throw just right in order to trigger the animation. If, like me, it takes you a few tries, the game will respawn new enemies until you get it. We can also use the environment to impale enemies or throw them off ledges, which is always satisfying. You had to position yourself just right, but once you do, it's just another thing you'll want to add to your combos. I also like that the enemies sometimes team up, or just end up fighting with each other. Sometimes you'll see glittery items on the floor, and these are weapons or things we can use as weapons. The first time I picked up a skull and used it, I was nearly on the floor. The weapons make us super overpowered, but only last for a few enemies, so it doesn't throw off the balance of the game. Johnny Cage appears to help us fight off enemies and open gates, but he tends to run off and leaves us to finish the fight on our own. Just thought it was weird. Like, he knows we're getting a beat down, but he's focused on the gates and doesn't understand what the hold-up is. If fight combos, platforming, picking up and using weapons, or using special abilities weren't enough, we also have a quick time event of sorts. Mash X to test your might, hitting a lever.
Outstanding.
My first playthrough was a lot of running back and forth without understanding where I was meant to go. Whereas the second time, I realized the cutscenes were the only way to know where I was going, so I had to pay a little more attention. The cinematic cutscenes, however, were the opposite. They loved them in this game. The first was a solid 5 minutes worth of fighting, which I can imagine fans loved. But for me it was a fancy and dramatic way to showcase the characters, and I didn't really need to keep track of what was actually going on. I went into this game completely blind. Well, I knew it wasn't a traditional Mortal Kombat game, but I didn't know how else they would mix in their own brand of combat with other genres. This game hit the mark. It was easy enough for someone who isn't super into Mortal Kombat to understand and get into it. But it also had little Easter eggs or throwbacks for veteran fans to enjoy. The combat was satisfying and responsive, and even though I'm a button masher, I found myself wanting to mix up the moves and see how high I could get the hit counter. For a game from 2005, the graphics and visuals aren't too bad, and I like the off-path fighting that we run past every now and then. Makes it feel like there's action going on around us in a bigger world. There were some annoyances with the design, like the signposting or not knowing which items can be interacted with, aside from the glitter. The other thing was Liu Kang and his constant yelling.
Excellent.
I think I started tuning it out after a while, but man, it was painful to hear on every button push in the first hour I played. It's great when a company tries something different and it ends up being great. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks was definitely third time's the charm, and can appeal to longtime fans of the series or people who just like beat 'em ups. Ed Boon, the director and producer, even said that Monks was far and away the best spin-off. Isn't that just
Excellent.
This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like down below.